Hello, I'm Katie, and this is Stepmum Space, the judgment-free zone where we'll talk candidly about the fairy tales and scary tales of stepmum life. So whether you've been a stepmum for years, you're just starting out, or you want to understand the stepmum in your life a little bit better, this is the place for you. Before we get into today's episode, I just want to remind you that our Stepmum forum is up and running and free to join at www.stepmumspace.com/forum. So if you want to meet other women in the same boat, do take yourself over to the forum and share a little bit about your story so you can connect with others who truly understand what it's like. I'm super lucky because I get to connect with many of you one-to-one behind the scenes, and I've also been able to put lots of you in touch with each other, which is just awesome. So I hope the forum will allow lots more people to connect and form relationships with others who understand what it's like. Do go check it out at stepmumspace.com. Back to today's episode then. My guest today is Rachel. Rachel is a stepmom to a little boy and is truly one of the kindest, most calm women I have met ever. Her understated resilience and positive energy is incredible, and I know you're going to love her story. So welcome, Rachel. Thank you ever so much for joining me this evening.
Thank you for having me.
How's your week going?
Good, very busy. Going back to work, kind of post-COVID, back in the office a little bit more, so busy juggling that with a new school year, but really good, thank you.
Oh, and new school year for your stepchild?
Yeah, for my stepson, he started school in September, he's 4, so he is absolutely loving it.
Oh, that's so good. It's so nice when they settle in easily. Anyway, look, thank you so much for getting in touch with me. It was really, really nice to hear from you, and I'm really grateful to you for coming on the show to share your situation. So do you want to share a little bit with us about kind of when you met your partner and what the situation was like in the beginning?
Yeah, of course. So me and my other half have actually been friends for about 15 years, so a very long time. And we got together 4 years ago. So I'd just left a long-term relationship, moved back to my hometown. He had just left his marriage and had moved back in with his mum, bless him, and his 18-month-old at the time. My stepson was 18 months old at the time. And yeah, we very much found each other again and relied on each other for a bit of support, I think. And then it just really blossomed. It went from such a friendship, which always been a very, very friendly relationship we've had, to kind of, falling for each other. So yeah, we've been together 4 years now. It's had its ups and downs, don't get me wrong. We've kind of always managed to stay strong throughout, which has been great. But there has been quite a lot of conflict with his ex-wife, which has caused a lot of problems.
So, I mean, what a lush base to start off with, having such a solid friendship. And I guess having that kind of really helps because you know each other so well. So when you're in those tricky times, it's helpful to be able to lean on each other for support. How soon into the relationship did you realise that there was going to be conflict?
I think kind of from the word go, I knew that him leaving his marriage he'd been faced with quite a lot of conflict in that. So I knew that they weren't on great terms. I know that they'd been in a really, from her side, she was very controlling. So it was quite a difficult situation anyway. And I think we got together, I'd say probably quite soon after they split up. I think when you've been friends for so long, you kind of, all the bad bits, don't you, and the good bits. So a lot of those things that happened in the early days we kind of skipped, which was nice, but we did get together quite quickly. So I think that straight away we did see conflict, but it wasn't until I'd probably say about 6 months into our relationship there'd been a bit of a family emergency, which had kind of forced me and my stepson's mum to have a bit of conversation. And from then it was kind of, at first she was great, lovely, and I thought, brilliant, this is going to really work. We're going to have a great co-parenting relationship. I can see a future where this is going to be fine. And then unfortunately, more or less instantly, there was allegations of, oh, we're still sleeping together, we're still seeing each other. I think there was a lot of crossover between us.
So his ex was saying to you that she was still sleeping with him while you were together?
Yeah, which was quite a lot, as you can imagine.
Okay.
got together, and it was quite a lot. But I think at that stage I had to make the decision of, right, okay, I'm gonna either trust my long-term friend and now partner that this isn't happening, or I just walk away from this situation now. And I chose to stay, and I'm really glad I did, because I'm extremely happy. Kind of since then, she doesn't really like me being around. There's a lot of conflict with kind of how she feels about me.
I'm interested in that twist. So you said kind of when a family emergency sort of brought you guys together and you had to meet, and you thought, well, this is great. She was really nice to you.
Yeah.
But then suddenly, like, a shift. What do you think happened?
I'm not sure. I think that she probably, well, I know this now, she has her own issues, I think, around control and around rejection. And, I've tried to read a lot about this to try and analyze it myself, because we were really happy. We just got together. We were trying to kind of muddle through this, trying to make things kind of have quite a good relationship with his ex, trying to introduce me to his stepson, that kind of thing. And then it did take this turn, and it was a bit of a shock, because I'm quite a trusting person, I think, and I had to really step back and think, right, okay, is this real, or is she trying to jeopardize my relationship here? And I had to really step back and make that choice quite early on, because now, knowing what I know now, this kind of thing in various different shapes and forms has come up time and time again. So I can see that this is a recurring issue when she kind of, I suppose, lacks control in the situation, I suppose.
God, I mean, and that's hard. I mean, it's hard for everybody. We talk a lot as stepmoms about how difficult it is to have so much out of your control, but you have to let it go, and you have to learn to live with it, as hard as it is. I talk a lot to the women that I work with in our workshops, actually, about kind of control and focusing on what you do have some influence on, and letting go of what you don't. And sometimes I think, I wish the birth mums could see this stuff as well.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. I totally agree. I think that there's been a lot of, and I'm listening to the podcast, speaking to kind of other stepmoms in the same situation. You do have to bite your tongue, and you often do kind of have to just swallow it and crack on. And I do often wish that that was kind of reciprocated both ways, because I think that for everyone, it would make the situation a lot more straightforward, and everyone would probably be a lot more understanding.
Yeah, and then to kind of delve into your relationship with your stepson. So he was 18 months when you met, and his parents, I guess, hadn't been separated that long. How were things with him? How did he take to you and the new situation?
Yeah, so I probably met him. So they separated when he was 18 months. I probably met him when he was just before he was 2, I'd say. We were just great from the get-go. We formed a really special bond straight away. I think because he was so young when his parents separated, I don't think he remembers the time when they were together, which I imagine it's kind of probably made things a little easier. But we've always got on really well. We've formed a really special bond more or less straight away. And yeah, it's really special. He's the light of my life, really, really.
Oh, and I can see you just beaming, like you're so you look so happy when you talk about him. It's amazing. So how often is he with you?
Originally, when me and my partner first got together, he had his son 5 days a week, and he went to his mum's on a weekend. That stayed the same for, I suppose, the first 3 years of our relationship. I didn't live with them at the time. We were kind of very slow with me moving in, just with it being so high conflict, I suppose. So when my stepson started school in September, we moved onto a 50-50 agreement that his mum wanted, that we're currently trialing, I suppose, at the moment, to see how that works. So it's quite an adjustment, as you can probably understand, that we went from having him kind of Monday to Friday to now having him, yeah, just 50% of the time. And it means we get some weekends with him as well. So it has its benefits, but it has been quite an adjustment, definitely.
And how's he taken to that? Because being with one parent in the week and another parent on the weekend is something that I hear sometimes, usually when people kind of have shift work or it's like dictated by their jobs, but it's quite unusual because it feels a little bit like one parent gets all the fun time and the other parent gets all the hard work.
That was exactly what it felt like, to be honest, which at the time we were okay with, because we really wanted to have structure for him, and it was very much we wanted him to have a good night's sleep and that kind of thing. And it was a little bit like at the weekend he had late nights and got to do the fun things and the lie-ins, and the going out and spending real nice quality time. And it did feel for quite a while like we had the pickups and drop-offs, the bath, then bed, and then a bit of time at breakfast kind of thing. But it was fine, to be honest.
Yeah.
It worked for us because we knew that he was getting that kind of structure through the week.
And I guess on the flip side, you're sort of in this new relationship, and it was nice for you and your partner to have time at the weekends to spend time just the two of you doing coupley
Yeah,
things.
absolutely. And I think that definitely helped us at the start because I think, especially with the situation being so high conflict, you need that time, don't you? You need that time to kind of reconnect, to spend time with each other, to laugh, and just spend that time, I think. So yeah, it was really beneficial. It was nice.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of sort of full-time stepmums or even weekend stepmums who'll be thinking like, I would kill for weekends with my partner, just the two of us. So
Yeah,
e even when you love your stepchildren like you do, it's still nice to get some time just the two of you. So you've talked a little bit about kind of the high conflict of the early days. Can you share a little bit more about what that was like?
yeah, of course. So in the first couple of years, I'd say it was very much kind of the standard thing that we hear time and time again. It was up to 30 messages a night. It was phone calls. There was a lot of contact with my other half, and that was a lot. There was always kind of arguments and his ex-wife trying to start arguments and that kind of thing. That was really tiring, but almost manageable because we knew we had my stepson through the week, and we knew that when the weekend came that this kind of onslaught of texts and calls would come, and we kind of learned how to manage it.
And what sort of things would come in the content of the text messages?
It was anything from kind of how we were parenting to how we were spending our time with him, to even down to how we were teaching him his ABCs. Like it was really kind of tit for tat, but it was also there was always kind of this underlying theme of like making out that my partner was a bad person, which I really struggled with because he's absolutely golden. He's a wonderful dad. It was just a lot of conflict. It was a lot of negativity, a lot of you've done this. And yeah, that was a real struggle at the start.
And how did that impact on your partner?
I think definitely his mental health did suffer with his mental health from that. I think he's really good at managing it. I think he for a lot of his marriage he went through the same thing. So I think he's has his own coping mechanisms through that. But as we talk more about kind of what's happened and what's unfolded, we've had to really put some things in place and put some tools in place to make sure that we're protecting our peace, I suppose, and our mental health in that situation, because it gets to a point where you just don't have any room left to kind of deal with it. And I've watched him be really broken down by this situation, trying his absolute best, doing favors for his ex-wife, left, right, and centre to help with childcare and that kind of thing, and him still being absolutely rinsed for his parenting skills and the way how he is as a person. And so it's really hard to watch sometimes, because a few times, yeah, he's absolutely broken down, and that's really hard when you know that someone's absolutely trying the best and is doing a phenomenal job.
And so lovely to hear you talking about him like that. And I guess in those situations, for you to be that supportive partner must have gone some way to helping him through it. I'm interested to know when he's kind of getting this barrage of text messages, because we hear this a lot and we talk about it quite a bit. How did he handle it? Did he respond, or did he just let the barrage continue and put the phone on silent?
I think at the start he would kind of reply. There'd be a lot of times where she'd almost kind of mask it as, I need advice about our son's behavior, about this, and then it would kind of lead to an argument. So a lot of the time I think he would think he was doing the right thing by responding. Since then we've had to put boundaries in place because it was just taking over our life. It was just too much. So now we, especially him, only replies when it's about kind of pick up or drop off, or like the health and like well-being of that little boy, rather than kind of you had an affair, you did this, kind of the things that would come through. So I think that having those boundaries in place and being able to say, right, okay, I'm only going to respond now about pick up and drop off really helps. And it's hard, it's not easy, especially when someone's kind of provoking you and trying to start an argument. It's never easy, but it is something that we've absolutely had to learn through time.
I call it the drama llama.
That's brilliant. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm like, leave the drama llama. Like always would say that to any stepmoms. When the drama llama's coming out to play, just leave it, because it's never going to end well. So you mentioned how your partner was sort of subject to the onslaught. How did you fare in that? Was anything directed at you, or was it mainly him?
I think he shielded me from a lot of it because there were things that were about me, and he would share kind of some of it if he felt like I needed to know. Yeah, he would shield me from quite a lot of it. But kind of paired with that, there was a lot of, and I mean, social media can often be the devil, as we all know. It's something that me and my partner do avoid. We don't really use Facebook or Instagram, Twitter, that kind of thing. It is something that that his ex-wife shares on heavily. And there was a lot of time, we live in quite a small place, we live in a small city, everyone kind of knows each other, it's that kind of thing. So we'd often kind of get messages from friends and family to say, oh, she's been saying this, we've noticed this online. And it was really hard because a lot of the time it was about his character and mine, and it does weigh down after a while, especially when you're just trying your best.
Yeah, I can imagine. And it's so difficult for you. I talk a lot to the stepmoms that I work with in group or one-to-one basis about personal values, and how when your personal values are pushed, that really, really triggers you, and then how you respond to that. How did you handle that when things were being said about you on social media that weren't true?
Oh, I really struggle with it because I think I really pride myself on trying to be a kind person as first things first, but also trying to be understanding and see the best in people. And I just had to be, it really upset me. I'm not going to lie. I really, really struggled with it. I got a lot of hateful feelings. I felt really angry at this woman and how she could possibly do this to both of us. And what if people believe her, and what if people think I'm a bad person because of this? And I felt a lot of these feelings, but in the end, it's one of those things that I never retaliated. I never contacted her about it. I asked my partner to do the same, and we just had to put it in a box because I think one thing we had to learn quite quickly is she's not going to change, and this situation probably isn't going to change. It might get better sometimes, it might get worse sometimes, but the one thing we can change is how we deal with that. And yeah, we had to learn that quite quickly.
That is just spot on, but so hard for you to do, particularly when people are contacting you, because I guess part of you is feeling like, why are you telling me this? And then the other part of you is feeling enraged and like you want to go off and defend yourself to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. It did feel like that. And I think that battle with wanting to defend yourself, but also not wanting to get into this conflict, it would only affect this little boy. It doesn't really matter about us. It's the bottom line is how it's going to affect him. And so the nights and nights that we talked, me and my partner, we tried to talk through this, and we talked to say, should we say something? What if we said this? What if we put this? And actually, every time we just came to the same conclusion: is it's not going to help. Nothing's going to change. So we just step away from it, and that's how we deal.
Good for you. And how was it for you guys together during that time? Like, did you agree on how to handle it?
Yeah, I think a lot of the time we did have the same thoughts, and it's also been a process. It's not always been kind of straightforward. We would often disagree with things. There was a time where the ugly part of my personality that I don't like often admit, but of course I can to you, was I would just want to be in control. So if she texts saying this, and this, I'd want to write the message, and I'd want to say, no, don't say that, say this. And that was so overwhelming because every time his phone would go off, I'd then be like, is it her? What she said? Can I reply? Can we reply together? Can we? And I've really had to work hard to step away from that and let go of that control. He's perfectly capable. He's absolutely fine, but I've had to let that one go, definitely.
And you're definitely not the only woman who feels like that. I think it's really, really common, particularly when it's your partner who's being attacked or things that are happening in your home that are being attacked. You want in on that. You want a say in the response. And I think that's quite normal. But I do think where you've got to is a really healthy place, because actually it's the classic. He chose to have a child with her. He can deal with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this continued onslaught's going on, and you're kind of constantly being criticized, and it sounds like your partner's doing everything he can to almost be sort of pleasant to his ex and keep the peace. Did it ever get to a point when you just thought, hang on, we need to stand up to this woman?
Yeah, definitely. I'd probably say about 18 months ago, we decided that we needed to put our foot down and put some boundaries in place. And at this point, we weren't feeding into the situation that she wanted. We decided that we only wanted to respond when it came to talking about pick up and drop off for my stepson. And she really didn't like that because she didn't have the control. We had a situation where she'd asked us to watch him over the weekend. So we, at this point, we had him through the week. She asked us to watch him over the weekend, which we did. And she'd contacted us late on Saturday, on the Saturday night, asking for him back, basically. At this point, he was in bed. It was too late. We knew that she was having a party, and it was kind of a real knee-jerk reaction for her to say, right, I'm done now and I want him back. My partner put his foot down and he just said, look, no, this isn't the right thing for that little boy. And we'll bring him round in the morning, we'll drop him off, and you can have him for the rest of the weekend, but this isn't the right thing for him right now.
And also, like, that's entirely logical. It's
Yeah.
nighttime, he's in bed. Like, there's no need to wake up a child. And to be fair, if she's having a party, why would you want your toddler there anyway?
Exactly. Absolutely, totally agree. But from this, we hadn't kind of bowed down to her, and as I imagine, that's kind of, we weren't bowing down to her in the years previous, but we definitely had been very understanding of her needs, I suppose, and we would kind of just try and keep the peace and try and do what she needed us to do to keep that peace. The fallout of this was that she contacted social services, which was horrendous, as you can imagine, and made a false allegation about my partner being violent with my stepson. That was one of three that she has, false allegations that she's made over the past couple of years, and that has probably been the hardest time in either of our lives, I'd say. It's been really, really rough to deal with.
And so what happens when a false allegation is made?
At the time, she contacted us and said, she was meant to drop him off. It was a Sunday evening. She was meant to drop him off for the week ahead. And she texted and said that my stepson had said that daddy had hit him with a brick. So she didn't feel comfortable bringing him back. So she was keeping him at home. And if this was a real fear that she had, I'd completely understand if she really thought that my partner was a danger. But there was no conversation around it. Obviously, there was no physical signs that he'd been hurt at all. There was just this allegation, and then they're not returning him home. And at this point, we didn't have a childcare agreement solidly in place. And we were absolutely past ourselves. But she brought him back the next day because she had something on. So it wasn't
God, I'm worried about my child's safety until I have something on.
Yeah, it was like that. And after that, social services came to see us. They investigated us, as they rightly should when they've had an allegation. I totally agree, even though it was awful and it was wrong. But I understand why they had to do it. So they spoke to us. They had no cause for concern. It just, happened two more times. And it's really hard having someone in your home, getting into the nitty gritty of how you parent, when really, I think, without sounding like I'm tooting my own trumpet, I think we do a really good job. We try really hard, and we do a lot of research, and we really just try and do what's best for that little boy. And so it was a really hard patch. But I think that having social services come back and say we have absolutely no cause for concern, they actually said if false allegations keep being made, then we will have to investigate your ex-wife, was really, it's never a nice situation. We don't want that for my stepson. I think we took a lot of comfort from the fact that we were being heard by someone who was a professional, who was saying you are doing nothing wrong, you're doing everything right, and that really helped.
Yeah, and I can't imagine how stressful that must have been, because you do hear horror stories about false allegations that get upheld. So I can imagine for you and your partner, it must have been a hugely worrying time.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. It's kind of a really worrying time that's just come to an end really recently as well. So we've had some really great support from social services. We've been able to kind of voice our concerns about the emotional manipulation that we feel sometimes goes on in that household. We don't want to, we never want it to be he said, she said, that kind of thing. But it's come to a point where we've had to voice some of those concerns just to make sure that he not only has a peaceful life at our house, but also there. We want him to have a relationship with his mum, and great, but we want that to be tranquil and peaceful for him. And we just want him to be able to grow up in a really calm environment, which is what everyone wants, I suppose.
And what sort of things are you worried about in his mum's home?
We know that she has a lot of adult conversations with him, and he's 4 years old. His little brain's like a sponge, as you know, and he'll often come back and say things like, Daddy, you had an affair and left mummy by herself and she was sad, which was obviously really hard to hear because it's incorrect for one, but also he's so little and doesn't understand that. And so we just tried to deal with it in the best way we could and brush it off. We don't talk about it in a negative light or anything like that, but we just tried to kind of, I suppose, swerve that conversation a little bit because it's not right for a 4-year-old to listen to that.
Mm.
There's been times where she told him that she had postnatal depression. So he'd come home and said that his mum had said that he'd made her really poorly when he was in her tummy, and that was obviously he was devastated because he doesn't understand postnatal depression. He's 4. He came back and he was really upset about that. And there are a couple of examples, but he often, even now, comes back with kind of things like, "Oh, mummy says that you don't like her," and just little kind of tidbits like that, but just not appropriate for a little boy's little brain.
And it's like all that chipping away. And sometimes I can't work out whether birth mums say things on purpose or don't realize. I think there's a mixture of both. Like sometimes I think, as everybody does, you can say something in front of your kids and then think, oh, I shouldn't have said that. But obviously with somebody like this and it's ongoing and it does feel like there's an intentional manipulation. I don't want you to be happy there. I don't want you to have that bond with your dad, which is just heartbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree. And I think that we didn't raise this with social services for a long time, but it got to a point where we do have real concerns, and we did feel like we had to voice that to someone and just ask for the support, really. We don't want him to be taken off his mum. We don't want them not to have a relationship. It's nothing like that. We just want a peaceful life, like I keep saying, for this little boy, and a situation where he doesn't feel conflicted between his two homes.
Absolutely. So you mentioned there was an investigation from social services. After that, I guess it goes back to birth mum that, there's no further action, or how does that sort of go from there?
Yeah, so it went back to birth mum to say, yeah, just like you said, that there's no further action, but the allegations kept coming in. So at that point, my other half solicitor did recommend that we put cameras inside the house and outside the house, just to
Wow.
eliminate, which is, yeah, it was a real big move, but it was something that it was just kind of a bit of insurance for us, I suppose. And so when she came to us and said, this has happened at this time, we could, not to her, we wouldn't send her our kind of internal videos, but if there ever was a time where someone from social services needed to see that, they would be able to. But when they came to do their final visit, our social worker was absolutely brilliant, and she said, look, this is no way to live. You can't have cameras in your house. It's you're not living, it's not a nice situation for you guys. So don't worry, take them down, you're fine, kind of thing.
It must have felt so intrusive to feel like you're constantly being monitored, even though I know you've put the cameras up there, but still, like knowing that you're being filmed must have felt incredibly strange in your own home.
Yeah, it absolutely did. And I think for my partner especially, I think it made him really kind of cautious about how he parented. He's such a natural dad. And I think the more these allegations started to come in, he started to feel quite nervous some of the time, like, oh, should I be doing this? Like, shall I put him on a naughty step? Because that's kind of what we use. We use a couple of minutes on like a naughty step, and it really works on the odd
Yeah,
time it's
yeah.
naughty. But I think it did really make him kind of question what he was doing. Am I doing the right thing? And I think having such a great social worker did really help with that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you had the amazing support as you should. I'm really pleased that it got to that point. And has there ever been any contact between your partner and his ex, sort of to say, why do you keep doing this? Or is that not possible with somebody of her nature?
I think that there has been conversations in the past where we've tried to just be like, look, let's just start fresh. So let's kind of start again and try and do this a different way, try and improve communication. We have reached out, but it's always either been met with anger or just not felt comfortable. There's always kind of been something underlying, or something has always happened very soon after. It's just not been possible, unfortunately. And ideally, I always wanted to be one of these stepmoms, stood with the biological mum at the side of the football pitch,
Mm.
cheering the son on. And I think that I've just had to come to terms with the fact that that isn't going to happen. It's just not going to be possible. It's just not going to be
Mm.
possible. Yeah.
And how have you found it sort of coming to that realization?
Hard. I think that as a person anyway, I don't really like being disliked. I'm one of these people that likes to be everyone's friend and likes to, win people around and that kind of thing. And so this has been a massive learning curve for me in terms of that life fact that not everyone's going to like you and not everyone's going to like what you do. And it's taken me to probably just this year to really come to terms with the fact that this is who I am. I'm doing what I do, and I feel like I'm doing it the right way and with kindness in my heart and that kind of thing. And if she doesn't agree with that, or if that's not something she wants to be involved with, then that's not my problem.
Good for you. And it's probably not even that she doesn't like you. It's obviously all about feeling threatened
Yeah.
and kind of lack of control. And I'm very pleased that you're in that place where you're like, do you know what? Not my problem.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's not been plain sailing. I can't sit here and pretend that there's not been kind of every feeling in the book. I felt a lot of I felt a lot for a lot of years, felt loads of jealousy towards her, which is not a nice feeling to admit at all. But I was kind of looking at this woman who had all this freedom and could pretty much do what she wanted, and here we were kind of trying to pick up the pieces. And yeah, I felt a lot of jealousy. I felt a lot of bad feeling towards her, and probably quite a lot of bitterness as well, and that I've had to navigate my way around those feelings as well, because and remind myself that actually this is totally natural because this is a bit of a rubbish situation. Yeah, it's taken a lot to get to this place. I won't fool everyone and say that because it has been a bit rough.
And I feel like that's probably the understatement of the month. It's been a bit rough. I think you're a bloody saint.
Oh, bless you.
I'm really happy that you talked about jealousy because again, that's something that comes up so much, and there's all those complicated emotions that we feel shame for feeling, but actually they're entirely normal. Did you feel any jealousy around her with regards to the fact that she'd had a child with your partner, or was it more focused on kind of her getting the chance to almost have the best of both worlds with regards to her son?
I think it was a bit of everything, to be honest. I think that there's been times where I felt jealous that she got to do this first with him, and I'm not going to have that first with him, which is ridiculous. It's just how life works. But that was a feeling that I had.
It's not ridiculous.
Thank
Like
you.
none of how you feel is
Yeah.
ridiculous. That is entirely normal and not an
Yeah.
unusual feeling to have, I don't think.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I think jealousy kind of around the fact that some of the time I do feel like I am taking on a role that's not appreciated. And, why does she get the glory of being mum? And I'm kind of staying in my lane, trying to be respectful, but also doing all the school runs and doing this and doing that and not getting the credit. And that's not, you don't do it for the credit. Of course, that's not it. But I think that that's again a feeling that I've had to battle with. It's one of those things that's come up and I've had to face it and be like, right, this is a bit of an ugly feeling, but this is what it is, and I've got to face this side of the situation that we're in.
Yeah, good for you. I was thinking about all the stepmums actually, because this week they released the nativity play tickets for my younger children's school play. And obviously, me and my husband are together. We have these two little ones together. But my first thought was, gosh, this is hard because two tickets, mum and dad get to go. And if you're a hands-on stepmom, like so many people, including yourselves, are, that's quite a kick in the teeth, isn't it? Because it's like you're probably helping with the costumes, helping with the organization, and then you don't get to go.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. And I think that's really, I remember someone saying to me quite early on in my step parenting journey, that you really have to stay in your lane. And I remember thinking, oh, that's a really stupid thing. Like, I don't have to stay in my lane. Like, I'll do it my way. I'll forge this path. I kind of get it. I do get it. I'm not this child's biological parent, and they obviously they do get the nativity tickets and that kind of thing. But yeah, like you say, it's quite an uncomfortable feeling.
And I think that whole stay in your lane thing, it's so difficult because I think when you unpick it, that's just about protecting people's feelings. So as a woman, you don't have a baby to share them, but it happens a lot of the time. And yes, you do want a stepmom to not kind of take over everything, but you have to understand that all they're trying to do is love your child, and there's
Yeah.
never too much love that your child can have. So I think it's
Mhm.
so tricky on both sides, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And I really do really try and sympathize with my stepson's biological mum, regardless of what's happened, because it must be really hard. It must be really hard to to share that, to have to send your son off somewhere else for half the week. But like you say, I think the more love, the better in this situation. And I hope that one day we can get to a stage where she can see that side of it.
And also, it's on her to do her own work on her own personal development to make sure that things aren't passed on to her child. So nobody's
Mm.
saying to the birth mum, you can't find it tough. All we're saying is you have to deal with it in a way that doesn't impact your child negatively.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So tell me, what are your hopes for the future?
So me and my partner, we want a baby, or we want a couple of babies, hopefully. That would be nice. I don't know if you'd agree with that one, but we definitely want a sibling from our stepson. And I think that we always kind of keep saying to ourselves, oh yeah, we'll do this when things have settled down, or we'll do this when life's a bit calmer and when things are maybe a little less conflicted. But I think if there comes a point where you have to kind of you've got to make those decisions for you. You can't always let someone else be in control of that, because, like I said before, you forge your own path and you've got to do what makes you happy, regardless of someone else. I often feel like sometimes, and I'm sure other stepmoms feel exactly the same, that I'm kind of made out to be the villain where I'm meant to be the leading lady in my own life. And that kind of realization has made us think, right, no, we'll do this, we'll have children when we want to have children, and not when dictated by how someone else makes us feel or how turbulent our life is made by someone else. So yeah, the future for us looks like kind of cracking on and enjoying our life with lots of little people around, hopefully.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. You always consider the things around you, like, is it the right time with my career? Is it the right time with my family? Is it the right time with where we're living? Is it the right time with our other child? But actually, when it comes down to it, getting pregnant and staying pregnant isn't always easy. So I always say, when you get to the point where you'd be really happy if you found out, that's probably the time to stop preventing it.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
And what makes you worried for the future?
I think I worry that this kind of scenario, with social services and with high conflict situations, will happen time and time again. I think that's kind of always a worry at the back of my head. But I think, like I said previously, it's how me and my partner deal with that and what we put in place to kind of prevent that affecting us and affecting our little life, I suppose. I think that even now we're continuously, we've both had therapy. I've had some CBT, which has been like really great for kind of coping mechanisms. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's we're working out the ways that we need to deal with this situation, because we're really happy and we really love each other, and that's it. We know that we're going to be together forever. We just need to work out how we manage this situation that we're in, I suppose.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm a massive fan of therapy, counseling, any sort of help that and support that people can get with their mental well-being. And I think once you can get to the point of it being such a small part of your otherwise brilliant, amazing life, then that will help you give kind of less mental energy to it. And it sounds like you're really far on the way to that. So congratulations, because it sounds like you've had a bloody rough ride.
Thank you. Yeah, it has been pretty rough, but I really feel like, there is light at the end of the tunnel. I suppose that's the advice I'd give to anyone. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and no matter what is thrown at you, you can get through this for your own little family.
And it sounds like you've got a mega supportive partner, which is unfortunately not always the case, but it sounds like that's been an absolute must for you.
Yeah, definitely. I think the great thing about my other half is he's never made me feel like less of a parent to that little boy. And I think that's been just fantastic. It's been great for our relationship. It's been great for our little family unit and how we do things and how we deal with scenarios. And yeah, that's given us a real healthy base.
It's so good. And what a lucky, lucky little boy to have you in his life. So I'm really looking forward to sort of seeing how things pan out for you. You have to stay in touch and let us know how things go.
Absolutely, I definitely will. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. I've loved talking to you.
Me too. It's been brilliant. It's been, yeah, great to speak to another stepmom.
No one gets a stepmom like another stepmom.
Absolutely.
So true. So if you want to connect with other stepmums, do sign up to our free forum at www.stepmumspace.com/forum and have a look around the website for other opportunities to get support as well. There's no availability left for the December workshops now, but we will be running some more in the new year, so do contact me through the site if you want to be added to the waitlist or if you want any tailored one-to-one support or have any other questions. A huge, huge thank you to the wonderful Rachel for sharing her story. Something in there for us all to learn from, I'm sure. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please do rate or review on the podcast app. It only takes a second, but it really helps with getting this show to more stepmums. And as always, if you've got a story to share, please do get in touch either on the socials at stepmumspace or through the website www.stepmumspace.com. Don't forget to hit subscribe to be notified when next week's episode drops. Lots of love.